afternoon. We hope you've enjoyed the sumptuous offering at Iti Bhoj and taken a walk through the exhibition areas. We are now set to welcome to the book launch Silhet to Shillong, the story of the last IGP of Assam. Allow me to invite the legendary police officer Amar Pratap Singh to chair the session. May I also invite on stage the author of the book, Bijoya Sawian, a translator and writer who lives in Shillong and Dehradun. From Silhet to Shillong is the story of Lala Vimalendu Kumar De, a distinguished police officer, led the police force with complete dedication and commitment in the farthest frontiers of India. Bijoya Sawian, his daughter, tells his remarkable story with the insight and perspective that only an insider can give. This session is being moderated by educationist Deepanjali Singh, who moved to Dehradun from Australia and is currently working on her second children's book and a poetry collection. She is a playwright and a personality development trainer in various schools in the district. We are delighted to welcome you.
Welcome to everyone present here today. It is my pleasure to be here for the book launch of Bijoya Sawian's book, From Silhet to Shillong, the story of the last IGP of Undivided Assam. As rightly said by Sudipta Bhattacharjee in her blog, it is the heartwarming book on Bijoya Sawian's father, late Lala B.K. De, the last IGP of Undivided Assam, a stalwart among men. It is an anecdotal delight with the narrative spanning the social and political history of the area in the 19th and the 20th centuries, including World War II and partition of India. I request you, sir and ma'am, to please launch the book. I'd like to give a short introduction for Mr. Amar Pratap Singh. Sir is an ex-CBI chief and was an IPS officer from the Jharkhand cadre 1974 batch. He was serving as the special director of the agency. He's also held post of additional director general in BSF. He is the recipient of Indian Police Medal and President's Police Medal. I welcome you, sir. Sir, if you could please say something about the biography.
Friends, ladies and gentlemen, and of course all the students present here. It is indeed a privilege to chair the launch of this book, Silhet to Shillong in Dehradun. The book is authored by the daughter of Lala B.K. Day, Bijoya, and describes in vivid detail the life and times of B.K. Day, a very distinguished police officer. Though I never had the privilege of meeting Mr. B.K. Day, I have known his son Bijon since college and subsequently in the police service. His son-in-law Alak, Bijoya's husband, was with me right through school and also in college. Lala Day had a distinguished career from being in the army and seeing action in Burma in the Second World War to dealing with law and order in the Northeast as a senior police officer during the turbulent 50s, 60s and 70s. We must recall that during this period, Assam was undivided and many of the regions were aspiring for independence as Nagaland and Mizoram, or statehood such as Meghalaya and Arunachal Pradesh. Insurgency in the Northeast was rampant during that period, and to be tackling these issues as a police officer with the poor equipment and total lack of communication facilities as available then was a humongous task. He headed the Assam police from 1979 to 1978, which is unimaginable in today's day. The period is almost 10 years. And this is at a time, in the present time, when DGs in states are replaced at the drop of a hat. He also had a very important role to play in the creation of the BSF after the 1965 war, as Undivided Assam had a long border with the erstwhile East Pakistan. The book is full of anecdotes, and I will just mention a few which reflect his character. Once, as SP of the capital, he found that there was a traffic jam on the road. And when he inquired, it was the Chief Minister's wife who was shopping, and her car was blocking the entire traffic. And in spite of knowing who the person was, he immediately ordered the driver to remove that car and let the traffic flow. The result was that immediately he was served a transfer order and he was removed from that job. So this doesn't happen these days. If the Chief Minister is there, you're very polite and you try to avoid such a situation. But he had that character that he could not allow traffic to be stopped just because the Chief Minister's wife is shopping. Another incident which I read, it really reflects his character, is that there was a language agitation in Sylhet, and there were some students, Silchar, and there were some students agitating, and there was a CRPF contingent, and Mr. B.K. Day was present on the spot. Now, as police officers, we know that the CRPF is not always under our control. They have an independent way of action. And in this case, unfortunately, they opened fire on this agitation, and 13 people were killed, 13 students were killed. And this really affected Mr. Day. And because he was the officer on the spot, he took the responsibility, in spite of the fact that he had not ordered the firing, the CRP had done it on its own. But being the senior officer, he took the responsibility, which just shows his character. And subsequently, there was a judicial inquiry, and he was exonerated. The third incident I would just like to mention is that when Assam was divided, the headquarters shifted from Shillong to Guwahati. Now he was the head of the police force. In those days, you didn't have director generals. You had the IG, who used to be the head. So he was the head of the Assam police, and he shifted to Guwahati. Now Guwahati, there was obviously no accommodation for the IG of the state because it had been in Shillong. But there was a wonderful bungalow of the SP, which I believe even today is one of the best residences in Guwahati. It's along the Brahmaputra and it has acres of land. Now, as the IG police, he could easily have commanded the SP's residence and shifted the SP out, but he did not do so. And in fact, he came and he started living in cottage in the SP's compound. The SP had the big house, and the IG was staying in a small cottage in his compound. So that shows his graciousness. He did not want to disturb the SP, and he said, "No, I'll go and stay in this cottage." Among the police officers he mentored was the legendary KPS Gill. He worked under Mr. Day. There was PC Sharma, who was the former director of CBI, and Mr. DNS Srivastav, who used to be the ED of Meghalaya. They all worked under him and remember him with great respect and regards. Apart from policing, Mr. BK Day was a multifaceted personality and had an avid interest in horses and riding. Post-retirement, he took a keen interest in gardening, dairy farming, and growing fruit trees. As they say, soldiers never die, they just fade away, but their accomplishments are remembered long after they have gone, and this book epitomizes this aspect. Lala Day was truly an extraordinary police officer with extraordinary responsibilities during his distinguished career. I applaud Bijoya for this wonderful effort she has made, and piecing all the material and putting it together to make this book a must-read, not only for police officers, but everybody who is interested in this historical kind of details of that particular period of undivided Assam and how Mr. Day functioned and took various decisions. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Before I ask Bijoya Sawian to say something about her work, I'd like to give a little introduction for her. Bijoya is a translator and writer who lives in Shillong and Dehradun. Her works essentially deal with the life and culture of Khasi community of Northeast India. Her work was nominated for a Rabindranath Literary Prize in the year 2020. I welcome you, ma'am, and request you to please say a few words about your work.
Thank you, Deepanjali. Thank you, value words for launching this book. Thank you, EP. And all of you who are present here today. I'm really delighted that you all have come to this launch.
Thank you so much, ma'am. I'd like you to answer my first question, which is, what inspired you to write this book?
Well, actually, you asked me to talk about the book, but what I mean to say is you all have both talked enough.
Yes.
So let's start with the questions.
Yes, the first question.
Diverted, sorry.
Yeah, the first question is, what inspired you to write this book?
Okay, before I tell you what inspired me to write this book, I'd like to go a little back into history so that we come into context. So my father was 7 years old when we came up from Sylhet and to Shillong, and by the time he was 9, he had joined St. Edmunds, and his best friend happened to be my mama. So they were friends since they were 9 years old, and so he knew my mother's family very well. And so he knew they were very passionate about preserving indigenous culture. And so when he married my mother, they used to play hockey together, they were friends, you know. And when he married my mother, he was very well aware of this. And being a man he was very intelligent, and I think he was kind of visionary, and he knew that he knew about my mother's family, so he told my mother that we'll grow up as cousins. So we won't have a crisis of identity, and we'll have no problems in that aspect. But when he passed away in July 2001, she called all of us and she said everything should be exactly according to his tradition. So So we called our Sylheti relatives, and they organized everything that, many days, the cremation to begin with, and the days of mourning. All the pujas were done meticulously. And of course the Shraddh, the 13th day, which we call Devri. So they had this custom. After the cremation was in our own estate, actually in a different hillock. We used to love sitting and watching the sunset. So that was a kind of, something different, because the cremation ground was not, we didn't really want him there. The last rites done there. So then what happened was, and Bijoy, my brother, had to do complete all the rituals every single day. And they had this very strange ritual. His remains were in an urn and kept under a tree, because the Asti, when you go in, Hardwar is so far away. So every day my brother had to hold this urn and we did puja. And he had to say, I'm sorry, we cannot, we have not done the last rites and so on, because, Hardwar is so far away. And it was a heart-wrenching experience for my brother, to hold my father's last remains in an urn. And then one day, he turned to me, Bijoy turned to me and said, "This is all that remains of Papa?" Because my father was a towering personality, and he was like big built, and he had a booming voice, and so he looked at me and he said, "Is this all that remains of our father?" I didn't know what to say.
Yeah.
So I just said, "Well, that's life." But I think at that very moment, my brother decided that he was going to do something for my father. So within 3 years, he had instituted this challenge cup, the trophy for equestrian, because my father was a great rider. And it's still very much evident in all the police meets. And then in 2020, it was during COVID and lockdown had taken place. He rang me up one day and said, "Bibi, I think let's write a book on Dad. And I'll provide you all the details about his policing and the army, and you do the rest." So it was that one moment when he was holding that urn and he thought, "God, I can't let my father go like that." And that's what inspired us actually.
I think it was a wonderful idea, because I read the book, and after reading the book, I sort of felt like I hope I do justice to this session, because
I'm sure you
after reading about him. My next question is, were there some challenging parts you had to struggle with?
Yes, of course. Firstly, I couldn't travel to Shillong to be with my brother and do this book. The challenging parts were, of course, when you're writing the life of a person you're close to, then there are moments when you say, "I wish I'd done it differently. I wish I'd said this. I wish I had not replied that way." So those are very emotional, but we kept aside. So certain very private details which I would like to share, I didn't think it was great. But those were challenging moments, certainly, especially the journey backwards, thinking of them, with the memories of my father and our relationship with him. They were challenging ones.
I can understand. What did you enjoy the most while writing this biography?
Oh, I enjoy going through, the funny bits with my siblings and all the naughty things that they used to do and how we used to catch them out and stuff like that. So, and I remember, they used to make me laugh again at the memory. Like, for example, he loved music, so once we had called this very famous French opera singer to sing Madame Butterfly, which is a very famous opera. And then suddenly when she went really high, she was at her best, my brother and my cousin started giggling. And they laughed and laughed and laughed, and it was so embarrassing, and luckily she didn't stop. She was such a professional. So from that day, they were not permitted anymore, Yes, this is these are the funny incidents. Or when he was in Nagaland and he was DIG Naga Hills, and then he was sent to the rebels to talk to them and say, please join India. They call it India. They're already Indians. But, and he was sitting with them, and he was in our very special brand of Hindi, he was telling them how wonderful it is to be part of the Indian Union. And all the chieftains were sitting, and he also sat down with them, and sit on the podium. And then they were going, So he was very pleased. He said, when I go back to the Chief Minister, Mr. Chaliha, I would have done my job, they're definitely going to join the Indian Union. And then there was silence. So there was silence, and then one of the chieftains got up and said, our Hindi is very different, and theirs even more. So I'll say it the way they say, आप बहुत अच्छा आदमी है, लेकिन और ठीक बोला, लेकिन हम लोग तो हिंदी पे नहीं मानते. So my father said, he was saying, what is independent? Like he was stunned. And then he realized it was independence. So his heart, he really felt sad, but then he had no choice. He had to report back to Shillong and say it didn't work.
And she's written it the way she said it right now in the book. And when you read the story,
I think Bharati will understand this.
So you keep thinking that, something serious is going to come through, and then you just burst out in laughter when you read that one line that this person gets up and this is what he said.
Yes.
Your father did not grow up or serve in his homeland, meaning he came from East Bengal, grew up in Shillong, and served in Assam. Yet he seemed to have been so well adjusted and was a huge success. How did he do that?
Well, firstly, we are all part of Bengal. So, only after independence that Assam and Sylhet, Assam got its own state, and Sylhet went to Pakistan, unfortunately, which was fortunate for him. And that's why in the national anthem, you won't find Assam there. And people say, why? It's because there was no Assam as such. But for this question, I was thinking I would read the preface, and that would sum up why he was a success. This is the story of a man who held duty above all else, duty to the country, the people, regardless of class, color, caste, and creed, to the family, which included not only his parents, wife and children, but his siblings, nieces and nephews on both sides of the family, and to the helpless and needy. He was the one who loved to ride either alone or with like-minded companions deep into the silent forests, where he restored his clarity and composure, thus gaining wisdom and strength from the abundance of the natural world and the voice of his own conscience. He rode in the sunshine and in the storm with equal ease. From Sylhet to Shillong, he bore the journey and life's challenges and excitement with true grit and gratitude. He embraced all the new cultures and presences as only he could. So I think that was the secret, was that he just embraced, and he had that human nature which embraced it.
It's beautifully written, and reading the book, I can say that in just that much, it actually covers everything that he was. It's really nice.
Yes.
And somewhere I see that in you also. Like you embrace anything and everything that comes your way.
We were brought up like that, in our family, because we are mixed parentage. And before that, my mother's family was also very comfortable with Bengal and Sylhet, because we had connections in Sylhet.
was your mother's role in his success?
I think my mother's role was huge because, they shared the same commitment to duty. When she graduated from Lady Kate and then Agricultural Engineering College, she first taught at Ramakrishna Mission. She loved history. So when she got married, then she couldn't stick to a job. So she joined a social welfare association called Sinjuk in Kasi. And they did work for the women, nutrition, hygiene, healthcare, and childcare and all that. So she was very conversant with that aspect, and then she became part of the police family with the wives. But she also adjusted because, life of a policeman. I mean, sometimes he'd say, okay, I'm coming for dinner and I want my favorite mutton curry, and then he'll suddenly ring up and say, I'm sorry, I can't come. And then he would even come the next day, maybe the following day. Or she'd have something like, to do social work. She'd have going to the rural areas and she'd plan this wonderful day out with the village women. And he'll say, no, but actually I forgot to tell you we have to have lunch in Lushai Hills. That's Mizoram. And then we'd say, oh my God, in this weather, in that little helicopter, But she was fearless because she was very supportive. And she adjusted to his family and he adjusted to mine. She was very supportive, and I think that's part of his success. And she was financially independent, which also he didn't have to think about, he just did his duty, and it was like a huge state, as AP knows, he was there also. A huge state, and to manage all the militants and the insurgents, Naxalites were there, and the Mizos and Nagas, and the Pakistan border was very porous, and it was a very dangerous state.
Yes.
She really had no time to, but she was very supportive, no doubt.
Now that you mentioned dangerous, I'd like to know, do you think things have improved in the Northeast or Manipur as compared to what it was when you were young? And what is the situation like in Manipur?
Well, the only thing that's improved really is connectivity is immense. So there's a lot of traffic going up and down, but I don't think anything else has improved. Excepting the states, of course, I'm glad to see that Arunachal has really improved the roads, the infrastructure and everything. Because China is sitting next door, and and if he doesn't improve, then they're going to hold in. But otherwise, we feel very neglected in the Northeast. I think it's the most neglected part of the country. I know that's a huge country, and it's very difficult to rule, to look after this country, but being so negligent is not such a good idea, because things are just getting more worse, except in Assam, Arunachal, which we call the backward states. And I think, but I really don't know what to say, because it's such a huge country and there's so many problems.
Yes.
But connectivity has improved, but I don't think we'll ever understand the people here, nor will the people understand the people there.
Yes.
And the interaction is always very limited, even amongst the bureaucrats. I always tell them, and I think you must have mixed with very few local people. They all have their parties on their own, and talk about things. And unless someone is a bureaucrat, I think they don't mix around. So if you mix and you connect, that's the only way to improve things. But that's not happening. And Manipur, rather not talk about it, because.
Okay. I hope things improve and it becomes more about the whole country. Yes. Yes. Yes.
Considered very important.
Yes.
Say if something happened in Kashmir or nearby immediately,
Yes, everything is,
alarms
yeah.
will start ringing, but walking, take it.
Yes.
That has to be.
So I'm going to pray to God that it becomes better.
I hope so because, well, we hope so, but things are not have not improved in Manipur. There's no reportage, but that's how it is.
Would you like to read something from the book? You've read the preface. Is there anything else you'd like to share? Something that's close to your heart?
Battle of Kohima.
Yes, I'll just.
That I've
yeah.
kept it because you did tell me
Okay, I'll
arguments,
continue with that one. Your father was supposed to go to India to study law, but at that time the World War II broke out. So he decided to join the army. Please share his experiences during that time, specifically to the one in Kohima.
Yes, he had joined as in the 25 Mountain Regiment, and he was in Quetta. He was very happy because when he reached there, and he saw the snowflakes falling. He'd never seen anything like that, and he loved it there. But when the World War broke out, then he had to come to Bangalore. So I think I read about that. Yeah. The battle was often referred to as the Stalingrad of the East. According to Wikipedia, the British National Army Museum voted the Battle of Imphal and Kohima to be Britain's greatest battle. The Battle of Kohima was the turning point of the Japanese U-boat offensive into India in 1944. The battle, one of the bloodiest in history, raged for almost 3 months, from 3rd April to 22nd June. In the first stage of the battle, the Japanese attempted to capture the Kohima Ridge. This was important as it dominated the road by which supplies were being sent to the besieged British and Indian troops at Imphal. Then, of course, they managed to, send the Japanese back, and the Japanese retreated but continued to block the Kohima-Imphal road. Then from May 18, the British and Indian reinforcements, including the 7th Indian Division, which had been flown in from the Arakkans, had a counter-attack to retrieve the place which the Japanese had occupied and successfully reopened the road. Then finally, of course, the battle ended on the 22nd of June, when the British and Indian soldiers in Kohima and Imphal met at milestone 109 and ended the siege of Imphal. That was one of the bloodiest battles ever. He was involved in that. But for him, the victory was great. But he lost his forward observation officer and best friend, Lieutenant J.S. Scott of the Royal Artillery, who was out in the field. And later, when he became DIG in charge of the Naga Hills, he went looking for him in the cemetery. And of course, a long story how he found the grave.
Your mother found it.
My mother suddenly saw, some flowers in a corner, and she was limping because she had rheumatism. And then she said, my father had gone ahead with his men, and then it was the grave at her feet. So then he paid his last respect. At the top of the memorial are the words on a bronze plate in the cemetery. When you go home, tell them of us, and say for your tomorrow, we gave our today. So this is a it's a great battle. He lost his friend, and then when he went searching for it, he found the grave and paid his last respects. I mean, that's what battle is.
Very heart-touching. You mentioned in the book that his career as a policeman began rather dramatically. Please shed some light on that.
Oh, not really dramatically. He was the first IPS officer to, he was commissioned in 1947. So in August, he was the first Indian police officer who commanded the parade in Guwahati.
Okay.
So, it was like quite a momentous moment.
Okay.
And his British officer then left, and he was the first Indian officer to raise the flag.
Okay.
Yes.
I find your mention of the tiger anecdote very amusing. Could you please share it with everyone?
My brother was DGP and he was traveling back from Delhi, and he was sitting in the VIP lounge when a young MP walked up to him and said, "Are you so-and-so's son?" So Bijoy said, "Yes." He said, "I was a student leader in Cotton College, and during the language agitation, we were so planning and, seeing the cops, and we were sitting in this hall, and then suddenly we heard your father was coming, and he said, we shouted, Baat ahisse, the tiger has come, and they ran out and they jumped through the windows into the fields, So then when my brother then told my father, he said, "Oh, those naughty scoundrels,"
So that's the effect he had on people.
Can I ask some questions?
If anybody wants to ask
questions, we'd be happy to answer. If you have. Most of you haven't read the book.
Yeah, I would like to ask.
Yes, please.
Since I'm from Jorhat, I'd like to ask you about your father's posting in Jorhat. How was it like?
Oh, we loved it.
Okay.
And that bungalow is still there?
Yes, it's still there.
Yeah, and it was so funny, and we had this, they said it was haunted.
Yes.
And then my mother said, she doesn't believe in all this, she said, haunted. And then we realized actually at a particular time, there's that train that goes through,
Yes.
and it goes, and the rumbling, it shakes up the whole wooden floors. It was the train. And we loved Jorhat, and there was Dawson Company.
Yes.
It's still there?
It's still there.
Is still there, and when, our trips to the tea gardens, and that's where my brothers learned writing and all that. Yeah.
So
He loved Assam. He loved Assam. Yes.
Good evening, everybody.
Good evening.
Good evening, and I want to tell something about Bijoya, actually, if you don't mind, because I'm meeting Bijoya after 55 years.
Oh, hi Meg.
I'm Meg, right?
Hi Meg.
And
You were Parvati, weren't you?
Yes.
Yes.
And, we
I'm
were
so
in
happy
college,
you've come.
And that time, when I never thought I'd meet Bijoya here, because at that time we were alumni of Sri Ram College. Okay? That was 55 years ago. Not 55, 50 years ago actually.
Yes.
And at that time when we knew Bijoya, it was not like Bijoya Sawian. Now she had that beautiful flowing hair and tall, and we saw her watch her walking down. And then how she was known as, not as Bijoya Day, she's IGP Day's daughter. Now we didn't know who was IGP Day, who was he and what.
Yes.
So that time she was known not as that, because her dad was famous, but we didn't know in Delhi. We only knew her at the thoughts. She was a model and a fashion rank walker and all that, and a showstopper and whatnot. So anyway, I'm Bijoy. I'm so happy. Congratulations.
Thank you, Meg, for coming. I'm so happy.
And I hope you will be fashion spotting today. I live in a village 25 miles from here, so I came here. And
No, thank you so much, and we must meet again.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for coming.
Greetings everyone. Greetings.
Yes.
Firstly, before I ask you a question, considering the fact that I haven't read this book, but watching you here speaking so gracefully and made me watch out for the common points that I want to ask. So, ma'am, what's the most surprising thing that you have learned while writing this book? Come across.
Actually, while writing this book, I learned how much I loved my father. Which you don't realize, because he was quite a scary, he was just larger than life. So yes, that was one discovery. And also discovery about my roots. I had to do some research about Sylhet and Murshidabad and all that. So that was another discovery. Yes.
Thank you.
Can I ask another?
Yes.
Not really a question, but when we were young, we used to get these war comics. Do you remember reading them? Because they used to be very popular in Assam, and in these comics, the Japanese were enemies, obviously.
Commandos.
The bad boys.
Commandos.
I don't remember
Commandos.
the name, but yeah.
They were known as
And,
commandos.
Indian forces were obviously the heroes. Did you ever think of your father as one of those heroes of the war comics?
Not really. I think my brothers maybe. I was not much of a comic reader, but I'm sure my brothers did and imagined.
Yeah, do ask them.
Yes, I will.
Yeah.
Can I ask something?
Yes, please.
Good afternoon to all of you. Well, I am a former student and head of the Undivided School, and she is my chairperson. Once I saw her Facebook post in which she mentioned about her father. She wrote there about her father, and then I came to know that her father was an Inspector General of Police. So he was basically a commissioned police officer. So then I always had this question in my mind that being the daughter of such a top cop, were you ever afraid of the pressure he used to, face when he was an officer, all the dangers and IPS faces? How you used to feel, as you said that you loved your father. So which kind of feeling you had that, yeah, my father is an IPS, he tackles dangerous people. What was that feeling, afraid or being proud all the time? What you had in your mind? Can you please share as a children?
The pressure, yes, we're proud of him, and actually being the daughter of a top cop and the niece of a very prominent minister in the Congress government was, you didn't know real life really. It was so my mother and father one day said, you and Parvati are going to the convent. So we were sent there. And of course I had two very nice nuns, one who taught me very good English, and one was very kind. She was the Mother Superior, Mother Stanislaus. But the rest of the nuns, because my mother practices the indigenous faith, we are not converted to Christianity. The rest of the nuns thought they didn't like me at all, and they thought also you're a pagan, So then you realize not everyone thinks you're a big deal, So I'm so grateful to my parents because they were so, they were so far-sighted. They were thinking, God, like they're getting pampered all the time, and we didn't know the meaning of no, and you just have to say half a sentence and something's done. And it's like, we didn't know that was not life, but they knew that's not life. So they sent me to Loreto Convent, where most of the nuns thought I was pagan and I was horrible. And they treated me pretty badly.
And I think he's taken my last question from me, so. I know we are running out of time, but I just have this one question for you. I read in the book that you were in one of the co-cars with your friends. So how did that happen?
Oh my God, that was such a big hullabaloo in my family, because that time modeling was not something we looked up to, And my grandfather wanted to tear up all the posters, and I couldn't even meet him. I couldn't meet my grandfather for a year. I kept feigning illness. I was so scared of him. But if you look up in Google, that was one of the best Coke ads ever. And actually, I had gone to watch my friends Manjeet Singh and Deepanjali Singh, who were modeling, and suddenly Madhur Kapoor was the photographer. I said, what about this girl? And I said, what? And that was the ad. If you see the ad in Google, of course they made it very psychedelic, so thank God you don't recognize me much.
I tried to look for it, so you'll have to share it with me later.
Okay, I'll share with you. And I'm saying, what, And those days we used to wear khadi kurtas and, khadi pants with lots of, mirror work and all that. And, that was the ad. And if you Google, I'll find it for you.
Okay.
But that time they thought I'd really become a horrible girl in Delhi. I think Sir would like to leave because he has to catch a train. Thank you so much.
Really nothing much to say. I've already said what I had to say, except that I think this is a wonderful ode to your father by a very loving daughter. And I really say
It's a beautifully written book. Ma'am, if you'd like to say anything to the audience present here today.
Well, I just I hope this book will inspire many people to always have respect, most important to yourself, if you have self-respect, everything falls into place. And respect for everyone and everything animate and inanimate that God has created. That's what my parents taught, that's what my father taught, and that's why I thought this book was worth writing. So thank you so much for being here.
Thank you everyone for being here. And we have copies of the book available. Please get one and get it signed by Bijoya Sawian. Thank you so much.
Thank you so very much, Mr. Singh, Bijoya ma'am, and Deepanjali Singh ma'am. Now I request Miss Meg Rai ma'am to kindly felicitate the panelists. A huge round of applause from Miss Meg Rai. Please buy a book for yourself and for your loved ones. This is the best way to spread the word. We do hope that you've registered yourself at the reception desk. All registrants will be eligible